I remember being in my room and I was so angry and I was frustrated. I was sad and I was saying, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of doing everything. And no matter what I do, it still is the same result. But then I went back to his word. I know I can go to his word and he will always have a message for me. Welcome back to another episode. And today I want to talk to you about the moments when you feel that you should have a great victory and suddenly you lose a small battle. You lose what you thought you had in hand, and there was no way that you cannot do this thing. Moments when you said, I was praying. God told me to move forward. He told me that I can do this thing, that I have what it takes. Then you start to feel that things are getting blocked. Today, I want to share with you from Joshua chapter 7 because when I read it, it showed me something that sometimes we don't see it so close to us because we're reading it, but we're not really integrating those pieces into our life. And when I read that chapter, it hit me deep because I was in the moment where I felt that I should have got a victory. And why is it not done? Why I'm not moving forward? What am I missing? God told me to do this. Why now I'm losing this small battle? Why, after winning a big battle, why am I losing in the smallest one? This chapter is not about punishment, it's about alignment. After Jericho, Joshua had this experience of supernatural victory at Jericho when the walls fall down and he didn't really had to do anything for those walls to come down. Walls fell without human strength. God moved so powerful and everybody saw it. And many times we think after this, everything is going to be easy because this was the hardest thing to do. And keep moving because everything else is cake. After Jericho, the next city was Hai, which is a small city. Jericho was a big city, so Joshua didn't even consult with God. He didn't even ask God about anything. He said, we don't need everyone. And they lost because he saw that, hey, Jericho was big, Jericho had these walls, and look at how everything came down and we conquered. So in this small city, we don't even need that many people. We need a very small amount of people to go and get into that city. And they lost. And the lesson today is that big victories do not remove the need for daily obedience. Sometimes spiritual pride enters quietly and we don't even notice that. We think we already know how God works and how God is talking to us. We think we know it all. And now we're making decisions on our own. And quietly, we let the sense of pride get into us without even realizing. We're thinking that this is God leading us and saying, hey, we got this. This is not too much for me because before I conquered something big. I had a huge breakthrough. So now with this small one, I don't really need to pray. I don't really need to do meditation. I don't really need to read my Bible. I don't really need to ask God for direction. I got this because before I conquered that big thing that I have going on in my life, and I just did a prayer and everything came down. So this is not a problem. I got this. The problem, it was not the strategy, it was not the strength, it was the hidden sin. Achan took what God said not to take, and he went and put it into his tent in the middle of it, hiding it. And here's the hard truth: what one person hides, it becomes the problem for the whole community. Today, Achan can look like unhealed wounds, unspoken resentment, secret habits, things that are happening in our family, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to search for healing. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to address it, understand it, give it a voice to really heal those past traumas. We're just addressing it with dishonesty, emotionally disconnected. We act like nothing is happening, everything is fine in this family. We put mask on our family. We say, I don't feel the pain. That was the past. I already forgot about what happened to me. My parents always did it this way. And as a parent, you teach your children to stay quiet, to stay silent, to never share anything that is going on in the family with anyone else, even if that is pain. Pain that that child is enduring every day. Pain that is not allowing that child or that person to be who they're meant to be. And God confronted that. God showed that sin in the same way he did it then. He's doing it now. He's doing it now by showing us in our life many ways of where we feel stuck. We feel that our emotional life is so drained. Physically, our body is sick. We're tired of everything that is going on around us. And God is asking us to surrender what is not meant for us. That was meant for Him. He was meant to carry that. But we're saying, no, God, I don't need that for you. I want it for me. We are doing the same thing as Achan did, keeping secrets, keeping things that they were not meant for us to carry. We need to release it. Because if we're not, we're creating generational patterns that were never confronted. Not everything that is blocking you is an external breakthrough. Sometimes it's internal. Sometimes you got to look inside. You have to look at how your mom, how your dad, how your grandmother, your grandfather, all your ancestors used to live and question those things. Is it really right? Is it really that's the way you're supposed to have life? Or you can change it, or you can release what is not yours. I will invite you to read Joshua chapter 7 because that chapter is so deep. If you really pay attention to the details and you look at your family pattern, you look at what they're doing. Many times, people that they're in church, our parents sometimes they said they read the Bible, they're in church, and they have read this chapter, but they look at that chapter is something that happened in the past or something that is happening to other people, but it's not happening to them. They're clear of everything. And sometimes, as parents, we use God as a way to manipulate and to control. We say, well, God told me to do this, God told me to treat you this way. And sometimes I can't stop to ask myself and say, really? God told you to treat me so badly because that's how God intended my life to be? God told you to leave me outside because it was a way of punishment? God really told you all those things? And sometimes I wanted to ask, Many parents that they treat their kids really bad, and to ask them, really, that's what God intended for your child to live that life. God said that? Because I see many leaders and parents who said that is how God intended life to be. But if you really read his word, the scriptures, you will see a different God. You will not see the God that your parents make you fear. You will not see the God that is constantly punishing you. You will not see the God that is constantly creating pain for you. You will see the real God, the God without manipulation, the God without hatred, the God without fear, the God that says, come to me because I love you. Come to me because I created you to be in connection with me. Not because you're separated from me, but because you and I, we are together. We're meant to dwell together. We learn who God is through manipulation, through control. But if you really want to know who God is, I challenge you to read his word. Because today, that is the reason why I wanted to share with you this chapter of Joshua 7. Because I wanted to show you how does it look like today in families. Silence that they become normal, wounds that nobody talks about, that if you say something, you will be ashamed or criticized. Patterns passed down without questioning in business, inner disorder, the way you're living life, the way you connect with other people. You make decisions from lack of emotional integrity. You will make decisions from fear. You have relationships that they should no longer be connected to you, but you still feel the need to be in connection with those people, even if they're toxic for yourself, because you feel that if you don't, then you will be criticized. You will be cast out. You will no longer be part of the group. You delay forgiveness. You delay listening to your mind, to your body, to your heart. You delay listening to God, what God is telling you to do. You're doubting what He's saying you are. You're doubting those new roads that God is showing you and He's pushing you to walk into. You don't want to do it because you're afraid on how the people that it was around you the whole time are going to look at you. Or they're going to continue to be with you, or they're going to say, I no longer identify with you, so I don't even want to associate with you. I don't want you to be close to my family. And that is fear, fear of being rejected, fear of being alone, fear of no longer belonging somewhere. But when we come to God, God doesn't shame us. God exposes what is the pain to heal us. Joshua fell down into his face, and God said something very strong. God said, get up. Why are you down? Because grief without action does not produce change. When I read that part, it really hit me deep. That God was not happy that Joshua was on his face and asking the question, why do we lose? God, why are you not with us? And God said, get up. What are you doing in your face? Because God did not give Joshua a new strategy. God, he asked for internal cleansing. God knew what was happening. Joshua was still thinking that everything was fine, that everything was clear, that I did my part, I did the work. But Joshua did not realize that something inside the group, it was already being destroyed. He did not realize that, but God did. And that's why God told him to get up. That it needed more prayer. He needed to get up and take action on something that it was happening and he did not even realize. And this is the lesson that we need to learn. We cannot conquer new places, new territory, while we're still carrying pain, while we're still carrying trauma, fear, shame. When we're still carrying that, I'm not enough, I don't belong here, because that is the old. That is something that it can is no longer part of us, and we need to discard those pieces because now we're in a new season. And because these people did not wanted to leave those things how God told them to do, they wanted to bring it into their home or their tent. In that time when the Israelites were fighting, he brought it into his tent. So many of us, we bring our past into our home. We bring it into our children. We bring it into our relationships, our relationship with our spouses, with our friends, with the way we work, with the way we show up. We bring it there, and God is saying, hey, that doesn't belong here anymore. That is your past. Why are you still bringing it into the new land? Why are you still doing that? And he will question that. And he's doing it now. And sometimes we think it's just something that happened then that is not happening now. No, it's happening now. We make ourselves so busy so we don't have to hear, so we don't have to address it. Some of us, we numb ourselves with social media, with drugs, with alcohol, with many different things. So we don't have to hear what God is saying. Because when God talked to Joshua, Joshua was praying. Joshua wanted to connect with God. He was asking for that connection. He was asking those questions. That's why he was able to hear what God was saying. That's why he was able to find out what was happening that he did not know about it. And many of us, we numb ourselves with so much noise, so much chaos, so we don't have to hear God's voice. And then we question, why is this happening to me? I don't understand why am I sick. I don't understand why my kids are doing this. I don't understand why I don't have a good relationship with my husband, with my children, with other people. I don't understand why my business is not growing. I don't understand why my business is growing, but I feel so much pain emotionally and physically. Why do I feel this way? God is talking, but you don't want to listen. So you got to ask yourself, in what parts of your life God is talking to you and you're just trying to numb yourself so you don't have to address the past that you brought into the present. Many people pray for expansion, but they have not examined their tent. They're still living with things that they no longer belong to them. What's under the floor of your life? You got to ask yourself that question. What am I still hiding under this floor that I don't want other people to see it? But I know what it is. I know what I put there. Sometimes it's beliefs from the past, family loyalties, old fears that they no longer belong there. God is not taking something from you. He's cleansing your home. He's preparing you to hold more. But sometimes we pray and say, God, give me more. God, I deserve more. God, I've been doing the work and I don't get it. But God is saying, really, you don't get it? Well, let me show you why you're not getting it. And once you confront what is hiding, God can speak again. God will give you direction, clear direction, that it will feel so much peace in your body. Direction will return not in chaos, but in clarity. High was conquered after Joshua spoke to God and did the cleaning that he had to do. God gave him direction. and he conquered the city. Not because Joshua was stronger, not because he prayed harder, not because the camp was so clean and spotless. It was because Joshua took out what it was no longer belonging to the Israelites, that they were trying to hide it and it was not part of their life anymore. Obedience restores the flow. When you heal the inside, the outside, it begins to move. I know that happened for me recently. I have been through so many changes in my life, and I did just things like Joshua. I thought I had a huge breakthrough. I'm doing all these things, and God helped me, and He gave me the strength, and now I'm good to go because I cleaned all the parts that I thought they're no longer belong to me. And so I started to do different things that I felt that God wanted me to do, but then I became too comfortable. And then something happened where I felt stuck again. And then I started to feel so much pain, emotional pain. And I was like, what is happening? This is a small battle. Why am I feel like I'm losing this? Why I feel so much pain? And I started praying and I said, God, help me. Show me what am I doing or what am I not doing that is getting me to feel this way. I prayed for like 3 days in a row and the answer finally showed up. When it showed up, it broke me into pieces. But I finally found the pieces that I was hiding underneath. So in my situation, God was saying, this does not belong to you anymore. But I did not even realize that I was picking it back up because I thought I had a huge breakthrough. I already worked this out. My past is behind. I am not carrying anything. But I didn't realize that a little bit it was still in, it was still buried underneath. And I needed to take it out. I needed to really address it. And that hurt because at a moment I felt like I was going back. I felt like I was cheating myself. But at the same time, God, in all His mercy, showed me that it was not a regression, but it was a way for me to really stay anchored to Him, to really stay in connection with Him, and not feel that because I already work all these things out, that does not mean you will continue to walk alone. You will continue now to ask Him for direction, to stay present, to really acknowledge why are you doing what you're doing. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned in this journey is that the problem is not what you're doing. The problem is the energy that you're putting in to what you're doing, because you can be doing something that is right, but if inside that action is fear, is control, is abandonment, then you will not get what you think you're going to get, because you're only going to receive what you're putting in, and not just in action, but in the spirit. What are you connected to? Are you still connected to fear? Because that's what you're going to get. And going through that process, it really hurt. I remember being in my room and I was so angry and I was frustrated. I was sad and I was saying, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of doing everything. And no matter what I do, it still is the same result. But then I went back to His word because I always remember that anytime that I feel that way, I know I can go to His word and He will always have a message for me. And He had the message that I read in Joshua chapter 7. And that really confronted what I was feeling. And so I asked the question, what is it that I'm still hiding? What is it that I'm not pulling out and really casting it out of my home? Because my home is not these four walls. My home is right here. It's this body, this temple, this place. This is where I need to continue to do the cleaning, the refining, because God is going to dwell in here. And so He's teaching me how to clean it. He's teaching me how to stay aligned with Him. And so as I'm learning and walking the steps, sometimes it gets frustrated. Sometimes it's really tiring, but what it keeps me going is to know that I am not alone. That even if people see me with nobody around me, that I'm doing this by myself, or that nobody cares about me, I know somebody does. I know for a fact that He is here, that He's walking with me every step. That any time that I feel tired, any time that I feel like giving up, every time that I feel that I don't even know how to feel, I know that I can count on Him and that I can say, God, I need you. I need you now. And I know He will show up. He has showing up many times, not in ways that society will say, oh my gosh, look, there's God. No, but God has showing up in silence, in peace, has showing up when I have cried. God has show up when I'm eating, when I'm just breathing. There is God showing me that it's still this process going, that not everything is what it looks like, that this is something that is an illusion, that that is not the real life He intended for me. So, not every defeat is a punishment. Some are invitations to heal what is hiding. So we can move forward in freedom and never alone anymore. This time, we'll always be with someone that cares about us, someone that is really going to take that pain away, that is really going to give us the true love, the true peace, the true freedom for our life. So if you have not discovered that yet, I invite you to search for it. I invite you to stay connected. I invite you to read His Word. Not as somebody who's looking to be in church, not somebody who's looking to be a Christian or to search for a religion, but somebody who's searching for true love, for true connection, for true freedom. I invite you to connect with Him because you are His creation. You are His child, and He's longing for you. He's still searching for you. So, no matter how fast you run, no matter how many things you do to put that wall between you and Him, He will still find you. He's there. He's waiting for you to say, yes, I am here. I want to walk with you. I will see you on the next episode. Stay safe, stay blessed. Yellow diamonds in the